This is your Pac-Man GP. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you on my channel once again. I hope you had a wonderful week and I want to wish you all the very best for the upcoming week also. So, ladies and gentlemen, today I have brought you a very interesting invention. Today's invention is related to the field of automobiles, and a patent has already been granted by the Indian Patent Office for this particular invention. So without wasting any further time, I will just jump directly to the invention and I'll share my screen. Just bear with me. All right, so the title of today's invention is an exhaust gas recirculation device for an engine. So this invention is related to the field of automobile, as I told you, and a patent has already been granted for this invention. The patent has been granted in the name of Tata Motors Limited. As you can see on your screen, the patent number is 513215. It is already in public domain, so you can extract it from the Indian Patent Office website. And it has been granted in the name of Tata Motors. So congratulations to Tata Motors first and foremost. So what is the invention basically? But before I start off explaining the invention, I would like to dwell into what is the problem which has been identified and located by the inventor from the prior art. So I'll just move back. So basically, what happens is that, when an engine is operating, a car engine or an automobile engine is operating, during the exhaust stroke of the engine, exhaust gases are sort of ejected out of the engine cylinder. Okay. Now, the exhaust gas comprises many compounds like carbon monoxide, then there is nitrous oxide, so on and so forth. So out of these, nitrous oxide is a very harmful compound and it is very harmful to the nature. It is not good for breathing, so on and so forth. So many times what happens is that the car manufacturers, they recirculate a small portion of the exhaust gas that is exiting the engine cylinder, and they recirculate it and they send it again into the combustion chamber so that it can be used during the working stroke of the engine. Okay, but this is done. This recirculation of the exhaust gas is done through a device called as a exhaust gas recirculation device. Okay, so many times it so happens that the exhaust manifold is somewhere connected to the air intake manifold. So the air intake manifold is that particular device from where fresh air is absorbed or fresh air is sucked from the atmosphere. Okay, and that air is then transported into the engine cylinder so that it can be used during the combustion and the working stroke of the engine. So when the air is absorbed from the atmosphere, some portion of the exhaust gas is sort of injected inside the fresh air that is absorbed or sucked from the atmosphere, and a mixture of the exhaust gas and the fresh air, it sort of it is mixed in a particular manner, and that particular mixture is then transported in the combustion chamber of the engine. Okay, so this is how it looks in the prior art. Now the problem is that we know, like any working fluid, whether it is air, whether it is liquid, whether it is water, or any other kind of liquid or gas, when it is moving from one place to another place, simple law of physics states that any working fluid moves from an area of high pressure to an area of low pressure. What does that mean? I'll just give an example. It means that, for example, if you inflate a balloon and hold the nozzle, pinch the nozzle with your fingers. Okay, so an area of high air pressure is created inside the balloon. Okay, such that because of that high pressure, it impinges on the air, impinges on the inner wall of the balloon, and that's how the balloon is capable of remaining in an inflated state. Okay, so the area of high pressure is high compared to the atmospheric pressure, which is relatively a low pressure area. We can say that the moment you release the nozzle, what happens? The air starts gushing out, which means the air from an area of high pressure starts moving towards the area of low pressure, which is towards the atmosphere. Okay, and that is how equilibrium is achieved. So this is a simple law of physics. This is how most of the working fluids anywhere in any kind of device where working fluids are used, where gases are used, where liquids are used, they usually function. Okay, so therefore, what happens is that, coming back to the prior art of this particular invention, whenever there is a pressure differential between the exhaust manifold and the air intake manifold, that is when the exhaust gas starts moving towards the air intake manifold, and that is where the mixing of the fresh air and the exhaust, the churning takes place and the mixture is created. Okay, but what happens when this particular difference in pressure, the difference in pressure as in the area of high pressure being in the exhaust manifold and the area of low pressure being in the air intake manifold, what happens when this difference in the pressure is so low that the air doesn't, or the exhaust doesn't move at the required volume, at the required velocity? What happens then? It so happens that that is where the problem in the prior art comes into being. And what is the problem? So when the volume of the exhaust is not in the required quantity, or the velocity of the exhaust is not sufficient enough so that it gets mixed with the fresh air. Therefore, air mixing or mixing of the exhaust and the fresh air does not take place. And when such kind of a mixture, which is not created properly, or when it is not mixed properly, when it reaches the combustion chamber of the engine, then it leads to noise, it leads to knocking, it leads to harshness and all sort of problems. So mixing of the exhaust gas and the fresh air is very, very important to avoid any kind of troubles, such as creation of noise, knocking, harshness, so on and so forth in the engine's combustion chamber. So this is the problem which the inventor has identified in the prior art. So in order to overcome this problem, I'll go to the next slide. I'll just move this window a little bit on the upper side. Okay. So in order to overcome the problem in the prior art, the inventor has conceptualized this invention. At number 100, we have the exhaust gas circulation device. So this entire device is your invention. Okay. So which are the main components of this invention? I'll just explain that in a brief. We have a conduit which is marked by number 10. So this entire circular sort of component, if you see, this is called as a conduit, and this is a hollow component. Okay. Also, if you notice, it has a varying cross section area. In the next diagram, it will be more clear. The conduit is having an inlet which is at 20. Why this is the inlet? Because this is connected to the exhaust pipe through which the exhaust gas is getting entered inside the conduit. So therefore, the number 20 is denoted as the inlet. On the inner circumference of the conduit, this is the inner circumference. We have many outlets. So we can see there are at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 outlets over here. And these outlets are called as outlets because the exhaust gas that is entering the conduit, the hollow space inside the conduit, it is coming out through these many outlets at the same time. So therefore, these are all the outlets. Okay. We go to the next slide. So again, this is another front view, a sectional front view of the exhaust gas circulation device. Okay. As you can see, this is the exhaust pipe and the inlet is here. There's a small inlet over here, and there is a hollow space between the outer circumference, which is denoted by 10B of the conduit, and the inner circumference of the conduit, which is denoted by 10A. So this is the hollow space between the outer and the inner circumference. And the outlets, which are denoted by number 30, are coming out of the inner circumference, such that there is an opening over here defined on the surface of the inner circumference, such that whenever the exhaust gas reaches this hollow space, it can easily flow out from these openings. Okay. So this is the basic construction of the exhaust gas circulation device, which has been conceptualized by our inventor. So now, since we have understood what is the construction, now we come to the working, how this particular exhaust gas circulation device is working in real time. So for that, we need to go to the next drawing. Now, in this drawing, you see the conduit over here of the exhaust gas circulation device, this circular component over here, this circular feature over here, this is the conduit. Okay, you can see the outer surface or of the outer circumference of the conduit over here. Number 20 is the inlet through which the exhaust air enters inside the conduit. So the exhaust pipe is connected over here. It is not shown in the drawing. So I'll go back to the previous figure. So this exhaust pipe is connected to the inlet. That inlet 20 is here. Okay. And on the other side, an air intake pipe through which the fresh air is entering, or through which the fresh air is absorbed or sucked from the atmosphere. That air intake pipe is connected to these outlets such that these outlets are entering inside that air intake pipe. So all these outlets that are here, I mean, they are not visible in this diagram, but all these outlets which are, which are defined on the inner circumference of the conduit. Okay, they are actually entering the air intake pipe, which is passing through this particular region from inside this circular conduit. Okay, through and through. Okay, so that is how basically it is installed in real time. So now, therefore, what happens? We'll go to the next figure. This is the inner circumference of the conduit, and there is a cutout over here, and these openings are defined on the other side of the cutout, such that whatever exhaust air is coming from inside the conduit, from the hollow space of the conduit, they can move through the cutout and through the openings, and they can enter directly inside the air intake pipe, which is fitted in this particular region, such that these openings are inside the air intake pipe. Okay, they are inside, or they are sort of protruding inside the air intake pipe. So now what happens? It is very easy to understand. So this is how it looks like in a perspective view, the particular invention. Here we have the exhaust pipe. There is an actuator valve over here, which opens and closes so that, the quantity and the volume of the exhaust gas can be metered and calibrated. This is the conduit over here, and over here we have the air intake pipe. Okay, so as you can see, the air intake pipe is going through and through the conduit, such that these openings are sort of embedded inside this particular air intake pipe. They are sort of opening inside this air intake pipe. So when the fresh air is moving inside, okay, and the exhaust is also sort of moving, the exhaust gas that is coming out of the conduit through these openings, when they sort of come in contact with each other at this particular region, a proper mixing of the fresh air as well as the exhaust gas takes place. So how does it work? Here, there is a valve. The valve opens, and sufficient volume and quantity of exhaust is sort of allowed to let through, and it enters the conduit. The valve closes. Okay, and the remaining exhaust, then it is again sort of flushed out, and it is thrown out. The exhaust that is allowed inside, it moves through the conduit, and it starts moving through all the openings, and they enter this air intake pipe. The fresh air that is simultaneously, parallelly coming through the air intake pipe comes in contact with the exhaust, and a proper sort of mixing takes place. And that particular mixture then enters the air intake manifold of the engine. So this is the basic operation of this particular invention. What are the technical advantages that are achieved by having this particular construction, this particular conduit that is wrapped around the air intake pipe? The first and the foremost is that whenever there is a low pressure differential between the air intake manifold and the exhaust manifold, therefore, which leads to a proper volume of exhaust not being able to enter the air intake manifold, that problem which has been identified by the inventor in the prior art is totally obviated. A proper mixing of the exhaust and the fresh air is sort of effected in this particular region inside the air intake pipe itself. Okay, with this particular construction, and therefore it definitely avoids the problem of noise or knocking or such kind of hassles taking place when such kind of a mixture which is properly mixed with fresh air and the exhaust uh, reaching the engine. So these are some of the technical benefits that are achieved by this particular invention. So I hope you liked today's invention. And for more such inventions, please subscribe to @PacmanGP, my channel. Please like, share, and comment on this video. If you have any questions, please let me know. And this is your Pacman GP.